Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio, everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Battle Chronicle video. And today we're going to be talking about my final impressions of the closed beta test for Danmachi Battle Chronicle. Now, the beta test has ended. It ended a couple of days ago, actually, and obviously you guys saw my data mine video that I made yesterday or day before yesterday. I don't know exactly when this video is going to be going out, but I did make a video talking about what's in the game files and what can be expected from the game in the future. But right now, this video is all about what I thought after the beta test ended. What did I feel about the game after, playing 5 days of it, basically experiencing the battle royale game modes, the events, the characters, the gameplay, all of that. What do I think about it now? Of course, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, first and foremost, please be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel for more Danmachi and Danmachi Battle Chronicle content, and of course leave a comment down below as well, letting me know what you guys think about the game as well. Do you guys like what you're seeing? Did the data mine video change your mind on this game? Let me know. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say down below. Now, I want to say the first thing here that I want to mention in this video, and in all honesty, it'll be a little bit weird to say this, but for a beta test, I'm not gonna lie, there wasn't really that much to test. In all honesty, I don't think there was that much to test, and in fact, I will go as far as to say that, my first impressions video I made a couple of days ago at the start of the beta test is the same thought process I have right now. It's literally the same thought process. This final impressions is going to be in the same exact vein as the first impressions. The only difference between that video and this video is I actually got to experience the PvP game mode, the battle royale game mode in this beta test finally, because on day one it just wasn't working. However, they fixed it by day 2 and we were able to actually test it out after I made that first impressions video. Now, of course, the data mines have also made me think otherwise as well a little bit, but I'm not going to include that as part of the beta test, final impressions, because we don't know when that's going to come out, right? Stuff like the raid boss that we saw in yesterday's data mine video, along with the, movie story quests and stuff like that, the other 3-star characters and stuff. We can't really put that in the same lane as the beta test, purely because we don't know if that was just placeholder stuff or if they're actually going to be coming to the game. So whatever I'm going to be talking about today is all about what you're seeing on your screens right now and what I got to experience in the beta test. Now, first and foremost, big shout outs to the Japanese players. I must admit, this has probably been the smoothest beta test experience I've ever had, because usually whenever it comes to a beta test in the past, be it for Sword Art Online Variant Showdown or some other gacha games, whenever I've had the opportunity to work with Japanese players, and if it's a Japan only beta test, a lot of the times they're extremely rude and arrogant, purely because also, we're technically not supposed to be doing the beta test, right? As a English player, you're technically not allowed to get into the Japanese beta test, and a lot of the times the Japanese players will feel a little bit aggrieved because they think that you stole a position from somebody else, somebody that lives in Japan and everything. But I will say this, they were really, really friendly and super kind, and were very welcoming and very much ready to answer questions and give their thoughts on certain things as well, because I would regularly go in and ask some players and ask what they think as well, and they would be ready to answer a lot of questions more often than not, right? And that was really, really nice of them, for sure. That was absolutely nice of them, and it made it a very, very smooth beta test experience, at least when it came from a community perspective. So big shout outs to them for that. But of course, after asking them some questions, it turns out they actually have a lot of the same issues that I personally have, actually, right? A lot of it comes down to, issues with the gacha rates, issues with the pity system more so than the gacha rates. I know that some Japanese players actually asked for the easing of the pity system, because right now, in order to get a character, a 3-star character from pity, you have to do 20 multis on a banner. Specifically, it is on a single banner. I expect it to be very similar to like Princess Connect and Grand Blue Fantasy, where you will have to the pity doesn't carry forward, the pity currency doesn't carry forward. You can only use the pity currency on the banner it's live on. So the first thing I want to talk about, and since I've started off with it, is the gacha system. I did, I think, 11 to 12 multis, and I only got 1 3-star. That's the first thing I want to say. So the gacha rates themselves are pretty bad. I mean, it's only 3% rates for a 3-star character. But the thing is, right, if you include the UR scene cards as well, right, the UR scene cards and the 3-star adventures and assists, it's a 6% chance to pull one of those things. I only got one 3-star in 11 multis, which is insane compared to other gacha games with potentially even worse rates. I'm able to get the highest rarity units or craft essences very easily. You look at FGO, for example, it's so much easier to pull a, you know, a 5-star craft essence and a 5-star adventure, a 5-star servant in that game, even though the 5-star servant rates are like 1%, right? So there is that factor. I feel like Danmachi Battle Chronicles gacha rates, I feel like, are a little bit low, and if they really want to, you know, ensure that their player base isn't going to be suffering from having to save like for 50 years so that they can actually pull on the unit they want, they probably might need to lower the pity exchange currency, or alternatively increase the rates a little bit, maybe like by 1% on both. Make it 4% for a 3-star and a 4% for a you are seen card. That's the way it should be, in my personal opinion, because like genuinely speaking, I only got one 3-star off of a non-guaranteed step in 11 to 12 multis, which is ridiculous. The other 3-stars I got and the you are seen card I got were all from basically just actually, you know, you are actually doing the guaranteed multis that they gave as part of the closed beta test, which was nice that they gave that. At least we managed to test out the 3-star characters. But if, you know, when it comes out to the live version, you can expect those guaranteed banners to be with paid iris. It's gonna be with paid iris because the game does feature paid iris, right? So I think the gacha system is something that is going to need to have to be changed a little bit. A lot of the Japanese players were also arguing for that, and I absolutely agree with them. That is something that they need to change 100%. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the PvP game mode, the Battle Royale system, right? And actually, I will say I kind of enjoyed the Battle Royale system. It wasn't bad whatsoever. Considering all things said and done, the only issues I had were primarily to do with input lag, if anything. And that is somewhat understandable because I'm connecting from the UK to Japan, which is, you know, far away. In fact, I think that whenever I've played on a Japanese server, my ping is usually around 250 to 300, which that's a significant amount, and it can cause and induce a load of lag, especially in an action game like this. So I would recommend waiting for a global version, to be quite honest, if you want to have a true clean experience, unlike, you know, what you're experiencing right now in the beta test. Obviously, I expect the service to be a lot more stable when the game actually launches, but assuming there's no changes, you're probably better off waiting for a global version because the experience might be marred a little bit purely because of the input lag that you will deal with when connecting from, you know, NA or EU servers to Japan servers. It's definitely going to be a bit of a problem there. Now, otherwise, I would say, yeah, the PvP system was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. This is something I couldn't actually mention in my first impressions video. I did make a video following up on that to talk a little bit about the PvP game mode and stuff, and I genuinely enjoyed it. I genuinely did like the PvP mode. Obviously, I do think it's a little bit RNG inducing, but I think if you can set up the right tactics and if you have the right units and stuff, and of course you can see what units everybody's using, I think that's gonna make things a lot more interesting in the future, because right now we only had like 4 3-stars. Everybody was using the same characters and stuff, right? In the future, once we start getting more and more characters to summon for and everything, I think things are going to start changing, of course, in the meta as well. Now, we didn't actually get a chance to experience the 3v3 auto battle mode. That is something that they said was coming soon in the arena tab, so unfortunately we couldn't test that out. But I do think if you want an example of how it will be, just go and watch any Bleach Brave Souls PvP video. It should be very similar to that, if not exactly the same. Basically, the game is very much like Bleach Brave Souls. After playing it for a while and then playing a little bit of Bleach Brave Souls after the beta test ended, the vibes are very similar when it comes to the gameplay and of course the arena modes and stuff like that. So that is something to bear in mind, of course, and it's something to look forward to, I guess. If you are somebody who likes the Bleach Brave Soul style of gameplay, that is something to definitely like for sure. Now, I also want to talk about the events now, and this is where things start to go very much downhill, and I think this is something that a lot of players agree with me on, and that is the difficulty curve is a bit too much. On normal itself, our 3-star units were struggling. A lot of people actually couldn't even beat the Minotaur in the final boss stage of the event, which is insane. Now, remember, this is a regular event, right? This is not like a challenge event or anything of that sort. This is just a regular event, and the type advantage unit, the unit that you're supposed to be using, this 3-star red DPS Bell, is struggling to beat the Minotaur in a straight fight. It is actually ridiculous as to how difficult these events are. And the worst part is, right, is that, and this is a big issue that they need to change. It's something that I put in my feedback form. So while I was live, which you can actually go check out, by the way, if you want an in-depth guide on how I exactly feel about this game, go and check out this live stream I did about a week ago, playing more Danmachi Battle Chronicle, continuing the beta grind. I actually do the feedback form live on stream, translating everything and actually putting my answers in, you know, in the feedback form. Now, one of the things that's the biggest issue here is, forget the difficulty of the mobs themselves. If you go into a fight that's higher combat level, so let's say for example you go into a fight like, let's say for example the requirement is 14,090 here, right? Say for example you actually go into the fight at 13,900. The enemies will be stronger, they'll hit harder, they'll take less damage, they'll have more HP, and as a result you're just going to be finding it extremely difficult to actually beat the enemy, even if you are 100 combat power less. This is something that they've adapted from Nikkei, which I think is kind of stupid. In all honesty, I think it's one of the worst, you know, ideas that any game developer has had, wherein you have to be at the required combat power level, otherwise you're just going to lose against the enemy. It's a very stupid idea, and it's something that I hope they change in the final version. It's something that I recommended. I think a lot of the Japanese players were also agreeing with me on that point, so fingers crossed they make that adjustment, because it's one of the stupidest ideas I've ever seen in my life. But also, on top of that, even though I had a 5,000 power level advantage over the Minotaur, right, I was finding it extremely difficult to beat the Minotaur. I'm not gonna lie. I beat the Minotaur once or twice, and I actually was able to beat him without losing a single member. But sometimes I had to actually just sacrifice a member in order to ensure that Bell would be able to kill the Minotaur. It was extremely difficult, and I definitely get it that, you know, at level 50, obviously in the beta test, we could only get our characters to level 30, but the thing is, right, even if I got my units to level 50, I can clear the Minotaur on normal very easily. But when they add the hard difficulty and the very hard difficulty, which they will, and this is where I will bring in the data mines a little bit, because in the data mines you can actually see that there is going to be a hard and very hard difficulty, and in the beta test there is actually a tab to change from normal to hard to very hard. We couldn't actually use it, but there was a tab saying normal difficulty. Then I assume there will be a hard and very hard difficulty, and the fact that there is going to be that, I can only struggle to imagine how hard very hard is actually going to be, you know, especially even if you have like level 50 adventures and assists as well as scene cards. It's going to be extremely challenging, and I don't think that's fair. I think especially with an event, I don't think it should be near impossible for a player to complete. Now, somebody mentioned even in the beta test chat in the Discord, the official Discord, that apparently Bell actually had an advantage over the Minotaur, and units like Bet didn't work. I tried using Bet. Trust me, I tried using Bet, which was a 2-star red DPS unit, and the guy said basically that Bell has an advantage. Now, I get that Bell is a stronger unit for the event because it's surrounding Bell's boss fights, right? In the first season, the Silverback, the Wolves, the Minotaur, of course, in the final fight. But that doesn't mean you make the signature gacha unit that's available then to be used in a normal event. That's like saying, you know, Danmimo, the event you can't clear on very hard unless you summon for the latest and greatest units, which is so stupid. I think that's one of the most ridiculous things that they've done, and I hope that in the future they make it a lot more accessible. I've mentioned that the difficulty curve is way too high. They need to lower the HP bar of the enemies. They need to make them a little bit more likely to get a hit on them, because in all honesty, we barely do any damage. They take hits like a sponge. It's really annoying to fight off against one of these enemies. I really like the way they've designed them, though. That's something I will say. The phase fights and stuff like that, because they made these enemies have like some sort of like phases basically, and they'll do certain attacks at certain points. That's absolutely fine. I think that's fantastic. They need to do more of that in the future. But giving them like ridiculous amounts of HP, letting them take hits like a sponge and stuff like that, is not on. That is something that they definitely need to change, and it's one of the biggest things that I have an issue with, is just the enemies in general, the combat power level requirement, and if you are under it and you take a lot more damage and stuff, that's stupid. The enemies being very strong for no reason is stupid. I just think overall they need to update these difficulties and stuff like that very much so. Otherwise, this game is going to be in a severe problem. Because the thing is, right, for me personally, as a fan of mobile games, I've played a load of gacha games in my time. Dokkan Battle Legends, Epic 7, Azure Lane, FGO, Arc Knights, you name it. I've played a lot of these gacha games. And the one thing I have an issue with when it comes to certain gacha games is that they act as if it's a console level game. You need to put 100% of your attention in this game to keep players in, and that's not the case at all. You get your players in by making them want to come back to the game. You know, Dokkan does this well. Games like Danmachi does this well. You know, FGO does it well. Some of these games do it well, where you can play whenever you want. It's not forcing you to farm 24/7 like some other gachas do, like Grand Cross and stuff like that. I think that that's one of these advantages that some of these gacha games have, and Danmachi Battle Chronicle is going down the opposite route. It is wanting you to play this game more often than not, and that is a bit of a problem I have, in all honesty. That is definitely a bit of a problem I have, and it's something that they need to fix for sure before launch. 100% they'll need to fix this before launch. Now on otherwise, I would say that, of course, when the global version comes out, I'm gonna need to take a deeper dive into some of the other things, such as like equips and scene cards, because I still haven't completely grasped how they work. Scene cards I've kind of grasped. Equipments are the things that are confusing me still at this point. So I think, you know, that's something that they'll definitely need to work towards and work on for sure. And outside of that, I would say one more thing in terms of the events, coming back to events and team building and stuff, is events need to have stories. Right now, if we take a look at the event stages, right, if we go over here, I think it's here. So if we go over here, and you guys are seeing my screen right now, this is the event, right? This is, I think it was called a heroic tale of something, I would say, and it was obviously surrounding Bell's boss fights, right? One of the biggest issues is that this event has no stories whatsoever. It's just 5 battles and that's it. Now, of course, this is the beta test, so it could be early days, right? And they want to leave the story for the final version of the game, but I hope there are stories in the events, because right now that is the big advantage Danmachi has over Danmachi Battle Chronicle. If you are a fan of Danmachi for the story, if you're a fan of Danmachi for the lore, for the characters, I would say Danmachi is still a better gacha game. I would say Danmachi is still a better gacha game, period, to be quite honest. I'm not even joking. I genuinely like Danmachi more than I like Danmachi Battle Chronicle, which is a damn shame, because I was actually concerned for it to be the other way around, and I thought it was going to be the other way around, where Battle Chronicle was going to be a far and away superior gacha, but based on the gacha raids, based on the gameplay, based on just the way the game is presented, I'd still say Danmachi is a better gacha game. However, that doesn't mean Battle Chronicle doesn't have the potential, because the reason why I say this game needs stories in its events is because if you take a look at the main story, right, the main story of the game, right, there are some beautiful 3D sequences, there are some beautiful 3D visuals that happen in the story cutscenes that aren't in the event story for some reason. Now, I don't know why they didn't want to do any story for the events. I think it's kind of stupid, to be honest, but yeah, that's something that they definitely need to add, in my personal opinion, in the future for them to actually really do well with this game. I would genuinely say that it would be Danmachi far and away if they just did that. Otherwise, I would say, generally speaking, like I said, I think a lot of my thoughts from the first impressions haven't changed that much, because one of the issues with the beta test was that we actually didn't gain access to many things, right? A lot of it was basically the event and the story events, which that were the 2 chapters we got in the main story, and then of course the events that we had. That was the main thing we had. The 5 battles in the event, that was what we had. Outside of that, I think a lot of the players just went on to effectively do a lot of the battle royale stuff to try and understand the battle royale system and learn a little bit about how everything works in that regards, of course. And I made a video on it, by the way. You guys can go check it out, of course, right? But the other thing that I noticed over the testing period and the testing phase is that there was, of course, a way to actually skip events and, you know, not have to do them, of course. This is when I was trying to access the beta test and, of course, the battle royale in the beta test, and it didn't work. But if we go back a little bit, right, to the start of the event, right? So next to the start of this battle, right? I'm on battle 1 right now. So next to the blue button in the bottom right, the left button, I think my face isn't covering it. Okay, my face isn't covering it. Where it says 10 out of 10. That is a way for you to effectively skip a battle and get the rewards instantly. So you don't have to actually go through the entire battle phase and everything, which is nice. I think it's fantastic that they've added a skip button without having to use skip tickets. But there is a reason why it says 10 out of 10. That icon basically means you can do only 10 skips a day, which is a little bit of a problem. I think they need to increase it quite a bit, and it's something that they should remove entirely. I don't think you should be limited by skips. In all honesty, if you have the stamina for it, you should go for it. I get it that they're trying to limit it so that players just, you know, don't run out of things to do, but I disagree with that. I think players should be able to farm and skip as much as they want. Another thing that's a little bit of an issue, and I don't think I actually go and check the dailies button. Yeah, I don't think I did. Unfortunately, I didn't go and check the dailies button, but in the dailies there is a little bit of another issue where unfortunately the dailies are only limited to twice a day. So you can only do a specific stage in the daily stage twice, and that's it. You can't do any other stage in that specific daily. So say for example you're trying to farm Valis from the daily stage, you can only do it twice a day. I am okay with them limiting it, but I don't think it should be limited to 2. I think it should be way more. I think it should be at least 10, in all honesty, in a day. I think 10 would be perfect. 5 to 10, I would say, is perfect, because I know that they're going to monetize it. They're 100% going to monetize you needing to do your dailies again. Either they're going to make you buy a bundle, like how Precone did with the Grotto tickets, if I'm not mistaken, or alternatively, they're going to make you use Iris to restore your passes, which they are already doing it, by the way. If you want to refill your skips and if you want to do more dailies, you can use 500 Iris to basically restore those things, which, I mean, fair enough. It's monetization. That's to be expected. But it's something that's obviously, I wish, a little bit more unlimited, in the sense of, like, I wish they had limited it less, in all honesty. I don't mind them monetizing it. That's the way of the gacha. I would be surprised if they didn't find a way to monetize something or anything in this game, to be honest. But at least if they could make it a little less what's it called, a little less stricter, a little less restricted, I should say, more so, I think it would be fine. I think it would honestly be fine, and I think it's something that they need to consider doing. But outside of that, I would say, I'm trying to think of other things that I forgot to mention in terms of the game itself. Now, of course, I would say that, if we could customize the home screen, that would be very nice, of course, right? If we could change Hestia to somebody else, or if we could just have a plain home screen with maybe like a illustration of Belle or something like that, or a character that we own, that would be perfect, because opening up this game in public is a death sentence basically to my entire reputation. So I would wish that they could probably change this a little bit, in all honesty. But yeah, outside of that, I don't think there's anything that I forgot to mention in terms of my final impressions. Overall, I'm still excited for this game as a Danmachi fan. However, I do have a load of concerns and a lot of problems with the game currently in its current form. A lot of small problems that are adding up. That's the main issue here. I don't think there are big problems, but just a load of small problems that are just adding up and frustrating me more so than anything else. Now, of course, tomorrow in the live stream, they said that they're going to address some of the feedback that they've gotten. So hopefully they actually talk about some of the stuff that we've mentioned. And number 2, we should be seeing a release date tomorrow. So hopefully whatever they say tomorrow is a step in the right direction, more so than anything else, and we'll have to see what happens in the final version of the game. Of course, we have seen some stuff from the data mines, which you can go and check out, of course, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, leave your own comments on what you guys think about the game right now after watching everything from the beta test, all the videos I've uploaded. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.